I have noticed that there are pockets of celebrations happening around the country, as it seems today that we have a new president elect of the United States of America. 46th president of the United States will be Joseph Biden Jr. There are videos on Twitter, Facebook, showing pockets of celebration happening in sporadic areas around the country. What are we celebrating about? Did hope and change happen under Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama? Did the Federal Reserve suddenly collapse? Have major corporations fall? Foreign lobbies suddenly disappear? Did global poverty end? Did the CIA break into 1,000 pieces? Has the NSA Utah data center suddenly deconstruct? Has the NSA surveillance state end? Financial sectors improve? NAFTA Act end? Jobs suddenly grow out of nowhere? The evangelical sector suddenly become actual liberals like Christ allegedly was in the Bible? Illegal detention of minorities from fictitious charges made by corrupt cops in a corporate judicial system? Decriminalization of harmless drugs? Everything redacted and hidden in the National Archives suddenly become public, so we can actually know about our real history? Has the military-industrial complex suddenly become defunded completely and spent on the public and private sectors helping everyday Americans? Illegal settlements in Israel suddenly become settlements for both Jews and Palestinians, ending the longest conflict in the world? Has the Saudi and Yemeni conflict ended without American support? The Five Eyes intelligence agency suddenly become blind to the global community? The 90-plus military bases around the world replaced with public educational centers, hospitals, or places of creative thinking? Our educational system suddenly become actual places of learning, where constructive critical thinking becomes the forefront of every child? The Vatican is suddenly deconstructed, and its mass amount of gold and funds sent to every single person on the face of the earth, while the rape and systematic abuse of children suddenly end? Did the illegal war in Iraq end? The conflict in Afghanistan, Syria, Libya? Has the actual 9/11 investigation started and begin persecuting the CIA, NSA from hiding information from the State Department and FBI, along with foreign intelligence services of Saudi Arabia and Israel, come under justice in this country? Has the homelessness problem suddenly end as we start beginning the process of rebuilding every human mental health and beginning to telling them and helping them with jobs and housing? Has the healthcare industry suddenly become a truly public entity instead of being drug centers for pharmaceutical companies who make billions of dollars in annual profits? Has the prison industry suddenly become private industry, or suddenly ended becoming private industries who make prisoners slave laborers who get 5 cents an hour and made to do more time by sending them to the public with no real world experience, and also led by draconian guards who are allowing anyone with a heartbeat to suddenly become employed in industry? Has the union suddenly returned and lead the public and private sectors instead of corporate oligarchs who cater to profit over people? Has the banking industry suddenly end their blood-sucking loans with high interest fees, which inevitably cannot be paid back to people who are financially regressed to begin with, and puts that person in a state of debt for years, ruining his credit score? Did the housing sector suddenly become less federalized? Did the federal government finally end its systematic abuse of the American people with their constant barrage of aging, whimpering congressional vampires who lie, cheat, steal, and kill their way to the top by promising the world to an already hungry, sick, and divided public? Did racism suddenly end, which is publicly used by our elected officials as some sort of carrot used to entice the horse to gain the public's trust when they themselves are inherently racist? Has the Social Security benefit suddenly witnessed a rise in monthly payments instead of being slowly garnished by the very government who panders to the seniors of our country for votes and public support? Has the minority base in this country witnessed any actual reformation which doesn't witness them as minorities to begin with? Has Hollywood suddenly not become pedophile nation? Has the music industry suddenly not become a bastion of dead-end, mentally degrading, traumatic sounds of self-debasement and farming grounds for sexually perverted industrials to beneficially rape by our hanger-ons and elsewhere? Have the public suddenly stopped viewing athletes and reality prostitutes on TV as their saviors and heroes, instead look upon doctors, police, and civil servants in the same light? Has the police training method suddenly become less militant and now taken on a social interaction means of training to get better understanding of the people who are financially instability to lessen the incidence of judicial abuse and even death? Has the world economy suddenly become an economy of the people where interest rates don't go to separate entities which cannot be verifiably audited by the very same public in which it collects from? Have politicians suddenly become morally sound individuals who cater to the needs of the very public in which they serve instead of corporate and foreign interests who rape and pillage the financial coffers of that very public? Have we suddenly have a leader who isn't a sociopathic, narcissist, megalomaniac who isn't bought and paid for by domestic and foreign interests? Has our lives suddenly become more valuable instead of commodities who are only useful only in times nearing an election? If none of this has happened, tell me, why are we celebrating in the streets?